Good morning from the Car Center of Excellence, the KCE, Carstio 72 here, and trying to get some progress done on my winter project for my Passat 2003 Passat W8, which is headlights, because my headlights don't work well enough to really drive it at night anymore. The challenge on the W8 was that it came with these really high-end, fancy, at the time, Xenon, HID, self-leveling, blah, blah, blah headlights, which of course are awesome when they're new, but when they get older, sometimes they don't work so well. And the reason they don't work so well on the W8 is the daytime running light. So here's one of my new ones that I was able to find, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. The daytime running light, rather than being like a small little halogen bulb somewhere in the high beam housing, it's actually just the low beam. It's just the HID, the Xenon. So that burns every time you run the car, and the material on the bowl gets cooked. And so over time, they don't really have any throw anymore. So while the lights come on and you can see them, you can't see 5 feet in front of the car and have to basically either drive with high beams on or the fog lights, which is dangerous. It's winter now, so lots of dark driving. So I had planned a few years ago when I got the car to buy new headlights. They are incredibly hard to find, as I found. I actually was able to source both brand new headlights. They have 2018 date stamps on them, so they're kind of like new old stock. ECS Tuning had the left side, the driver's side, and surprisingly, Car ID, a kind of a third-party reseller site, had the very hard to find driver side left. So this is what they look like new. You have a HID projector, which is the high and the low. You have a turn signal. You have a high beam. I'm going to call this the flash to pass light. So when you pull the stalk back to say, get out of my way, left lane, driver, they go flick, 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 flick. But actually the high beam is, the primary high beam is just the projector, and I'll show you how that works. I put all new bulbs in these, and there's actually, I don't have it in there right now, but there's a little bulb that goes in that hole that's a parking light. So I'm waiting on those from Germany. They had the specific bulb I wanted. So that's a nearly complete setup. You can see these are really hard to deal with, work on. Oops. So that's the ballast for the HID. And I sourced these from a fellow that had some used ones that he said worked well, because I just wanted a complete new set. So somewhat newer ballast probably than what I have. And that's it. So that's what they look like. So here's one apart, because son of a bitch, the ballast wiring, you just don't unplug them like on a lot of HIDs to fish it through the housing. You actually have to take this thing and fish it through, which requires you to remove everything. So unbelievable amount of complication to me for these lights. But this is actually cool, because this is how the HID works. The HID bulb is in there, and this thing here, the silver shiny thing, is the bowl. And so if I were to take apart the ones on my Passat, they would look kind of gray and dull. And that's because all that nice shiny chrome coating is gone. And so you actually can just buy new bowls and refurbish what you have. And I may do that. I may just refurb my lights and keep them as a spare set. This is the projector, so that's like an old projector lens when you were in elementary school watching films. And the cool thing about this is, so when you are driving, your low beam is on, this little shutter is up. When you flick your high beams, the shutter drops, allowing the cutoff that you would see if you flash these against a brick wall or garage door. You would see that cutoff go away, and it would just flash. It would just shine light everywhere, of course, blinding everybody, but that's what the high beam is. The other cool thing is there's a self-leveling mechanism, which is a little motorized arm that pushes in and out, and it pushes this is the frame that holds all of it in and out. So when you hit a bump, in the car, the lights stay level so they don't blind everybody. So it's really a really cool lighting system. It's just really complicated, and when they break or go bad like this at 20 years, it's hard to find them. These were not cheap. Each light was about $500, which isn't that bad for OE quality stuff. And then the bulbs are cheap. I mean, HID bulbs and the high beams, the blinkers, the daytime runners all probably cost me $100 total. So Yeah, not cheap, but probably the nicest upgrade I'll do to the car and allow a lot more functionality.